So this video is about what soca and dancehall is and has been, right? What soca and dancehall is and has been, right? And many would not like to hear this. In fact, people will hate me for saying this. Both black, white, brown, everybody, right? Will hate me for saying this. Rich, poor, everybody, right? But what dancehall and soca is, right? Dancehall and soca is essentially white people capitalizing on your resistance or your pain, right? Dancehall and soca, what it is white people capitalizing on your pain response to what happened to you in your past, your generations of trauma, right? Painful trauma, right? In order to make you work for the money that they're supposed to be giving you from generations ago, right? So they're capitalizing on your pain response, right, to what happened during colonialism, right? Watching you, right, making you expend energy, unnecessary energy to work again, keep you in that cycle, right, to work again, right, because all that dancing, the sweating movement, and for whose benefits, for whose eyes, right, the international eyes again, right, working, sweating again, right, to make a little bit of money to repatriate yourself, right? For things that they said no, no. Now people might think that I am advocating for depending on them, but I am advocating for people giving them what is owed to giving you what is owed. So independence is good, it's great in fact. So hey, you have an entrepreneurial thing, right, going with that because that's ownership, right? That's good, but that's beside the point, right? So that dancehall soca thing not supposed to be a money making thing for you, but an interest if it is if that is it, right? It's not supposed to be something that you had to work hard for, I should say, right? To work hard for to gain money, right? That's supposed to be an add-on, a bonus, right? If it is that you doing dance or soca or any other in chutney, anything of the sort, right? It's supposed to be an add-on, right? An interest, a hobby, right? It's not supposed to be, say, I'm working to get this money, right? That's supposed to be a showcase of your culture, something like that. Not a working, right? To make this money because that money is supposed to be given to you, right? So understand that. So what these art forms really is, right? Is whites choosing you, right? The elite council choosing you, right? To go into these industries to work for yourself, right? To work for the money that they owed you generations ago, right? And not unless one part of this. Second part of it is that these people using you to sexualize you is the second part, right? So not only are they using you to work in a pain cycle, right? To capitalizing on your pain cycle, but they are also exoticizing you, right? Capitalizing on your response to what happened. So in response to what happened in your painful past, you would go out there and you would act out, right? Act out in a particular way, in a particular manner, right? Which is what? Exotic to their eyes, right? So they are looking at you now as a piece of meat to be consumed, right? You don't know whose eyes watching you, right? When you go out there behaving like that. So it's giving energy to the people who want to keep you trapped in a pain cycle then, right? In a trauma cycle. So that's why really evolving out of thing, me coming out of that arena too, right? Coming out of that arena too is one of the ways I had to heal. It's that is part of that's part of the healing process to know that hey, that has a space and time, right? And it existed for the time it did, but to realize how people keep using you now, right? How people keep using you, right? To exoticize you, right? And to keep you trapped in a pain cycle, keep you trapped in a pain cycle and then exoticizing your body, right? And that to me, that's real. I don't know what to say about that because they are the one, this council, right? Is the people who choosing you to do that. When they generations ago, you supposed to get generational wealth. Now, if you choose to pick up an art form, it's supposed to be as a hobby, not to make money, right? So the fact now that they this council choosing you, right? And even for reggae, all these things. So like you listen to a reggae song, right? And you have a few reggae songs. You're just listening to and thinking, oh, that's African culture, or that's that, and that's that, right? So you have a few one or two favorite soca songs, favorite reggae songs, right? I tell you all because I know how it is, right? You have a few soca songs you like, you have a few reggae songs you like, right? And they're saying, oh, that is African culture, right? Like African culture. And they enjoying these songs without thinking, hey, it actually had a real hardcore past attached to these songs. It's not just music. It's not just a hobby. It's not just a cultural expression, but it had a deep rooted pain in which this thing evolved out of, right? And enjoying one or two songs, right? That's why I stopped listening to them too, because it don't make sense. Because it have one or two songs, right? You're picking and you're saying, oh, Bob Marley, right? Bob Marley is Jamaica, right? Bob Marley is African culture. Bob Marley is Jamaica, right? And you refuse to acknowledge people out there. They refuse to acknowledge, hey, and they go to a Bob Marley concert, right? And they refuse to acknowledge, hey, the root of this thing is so hardcore and so painful, right? So that's on that end, and then on soca and now we have the exoticizing of women, right? And for the eyes of who? That's why I'm telling you, do you think the British monarchy girls or anybody, even elite Islam, they would send anybody in right into that industry to get one like that? But they'll be watching you all from a distance, right? So as you saw your energy again over and over and over. Right? You see that why I lie down on my bed until I die, that was telling you. Right? Because I not allow anybody to utilize my energy and my body like that. Right? Now people might find it like, well, a lot of people who into these art forms, I think, might find it like, well, that's your way of expression too. Well, in that way, if you agree, well, that's your way of expression. But in some instances, I know these things might be forced, and you might be doing these things, or might have gone into these things against your will, right? There are instances like that too, where you're actually forced into entertainment industry and those kind of things, or forced to do things like that, right? Forced into pornography industry, forced into entertainment industry, right? So that's what I'm referring to. But I know there are a lot of people who into this, and that's a form of your where you agree to, you consented your bodily expression in that way, and you putting forth yourself in that way, right? But referring to other instances where you really don't want to be doing this, right? You don't want to be out there portraying yourself like that. You don't want to, people who do not want to be out there doing certain things, but they felt for some reason or the other force, right? Then it's fine to withdraw. Nobody could tell you anything, because I know that I'm saying, like, when you hear certain things when they go into certain industries and things, right? There's kind of trap in there, and it's be difficult to come out of. Right? Well, I saying that you could just walk away from it, and nobody can do you anything. Nobody can tell you nothing, do you nothing, right? You could just walk away from it, because there's this thing that when you go into these industries, right, entertainment, pornography, all these things, that they do, they keep you in that realm now, right? They keep you in that space, right? And you can't come back out, but you could, right? You just walk away from it, right? Because what's been going on is not fair and is not right, right? So my way of advocating for this repayment, repatriation, is to just withdraw yourself from these things, right, and allow everything to be yours. Whatever it is you need to be yours, allow it to be yours, right? Because you shouldn't have to be fighting up, and your children shouldn't have to be fighting up like that, right? So for this, what freedom is, you shouldn't have to be fighting up to live. Right now, if you're doing these art forms as a hobby, as an interest, you like songwriting, you like music production, that's different, right? But you shouldn't have to be fighting up and do these things to survive, is what I'm saying, right? Because the wealth is already on the earth. And you shouldn't have to be putting your body out there in any kind of exoticizing way, right? For anybody to capitalize on one exoticism as Caribbean people, or as Indian people, or as African peoples, or as Caribbean peoples, right? You shouldn't have to be having to put your body out there in any kind of nude, if you don't want to, that is, right? Any nude way, or any rude way, or any lewd way, right? For any eyes, right? To capitalize on, to watch you and say, oh, she's exotic, or he's exotic, or this, that, or the other. Because typically, a lot of times, the people who be watching all you, right, will never come into the industry and participate. I wouldn't go into the entertainment industry. I wouldn't participate in it. I wouldn't even participate in carnival. Right? So a lot of times these people watch you, right? They get off on, I don't do that. I don't watch them think for sexual purposes and things. I'll just watch it like sometimes, right? But people, a lot of people, like they be watching you, right? For that purpose, right? They get hot off of you. Well, if you like that, that's different. But I personally wouldn't like that. I wouldn't want to put my body out there, right? To be dancing like that for the purpose of other people, and particularly any whites in particular white people. I wouldn't want to put my body out there for white people to be watching me and getting hot over me, right? So it's about yourself and knowing what is your stand for at the end of the day with regard to these situations and what these things really represent. Right? It might represent one thing to you, but to the international community and the people who choosing you to do this and the purpose they choosing to do it for, it probably might not be in your benefit at all. Right? But it's for the benefit of their eyes. Right? Which is the sad part about it. The benefit of their eyes and their enjoyment, right? And not really for the purpose that you're supposed to be getting doing it for, right? So that's just my thought on this issue, and that's why I wouldn't go into entertainment and these industries, right? And they like pornography, entertainment, these things, because it is really it doesn't it is really treating you as though you are a meat to be devoured. I mean, not even an entertainment, right? It's like the eyes, right? The eyes out there that watching you is like treating you as though you are a piece of meat to be devoured, right? And not as a human being, because they're sitting down watching you from a distance, enjoying you, like enjoy, like with their eyes, enjoying your body, right? I don't want I nobody recruited me into that for me to be out there like that, right? Their eyes enjoying your body, right? And it keep going on and on and on and on. Right? The seductive energy, right? The lustful and the seductive energy, right? It shapeshifts and functions through these industries, right? If you see this Indian girl, right? The seduction and lust energy functions through these industries, right? To put you out there into something that you are not or do should not be in the public domain like that, right? And others, right? So that's just how I feel about these situations. I don't like it, but that don't mean all you're not free to do it. I don't like it, but I don't mean people not free to do it. People free to make their choices at this point, and always have been, right? People free to make their choices, right? To refrain from it or to do it, right? It's just that I personally wouldn't do that. And so would the people, the girls in the British monarchy, right? They would never do that. They would never come and do that. You think they would come and do that for African peoples and to get money for African peoples? This is what is getting me mad too. They choosing you to do that, right? But would they come and do it? Would they come and whine and gyrate on a video, right? Make themselves the star of the show, right? Nude. Because they have a status to maintain. They have an image to maintain. See, I don't care what images. See how I come and carry on these videos, right? I cuss them out no matter can, because hey, you can't be doing people that shit. You're hoarding your wealth, right? And you're making people fight up in these industries for a little money to build a house, to do this, to do that, right? You're wrong. Right, so let's see where that's taken by the time I finish teaching this book, right? Let's see where the situation leading, right? By the time I finish teaching this book, right? Yeah. So, um, I because entertainment is energy. That the point of entertainment is a lot of energy being expended, right? And who getting that energy, right? Who receiving that energy? You spending energy, but who getting that energy? That why all you need to rest, right? I don't mean die, I mean just rest. All you need to rest on yourself, right? All you don't have nothing to pay again. Oh, Bujabantan thinking, oh, so much I have to pay. You don't have nothing to pay again, right? The amount of energy I see you expend, right? On the stage and so on. Were you saying oh so much you had to pay? Right? These people owe all your money, so much flipping money, right? Oh, so much you have to pay. These people making people believe that all you owe all you owe them. They all you owe them nothing. I don't understand that, right? That's why I'm trying to wrap my head around, right? They're making all you believe that all you owing them something, or you're not owing them nothing. And that real evil manipulation, right? I can't wrap my head around that level of manipulation, really. So that's why I hate to part into that stupidness, right? Because people infiltration energy is coming out saying, oh, so much the people had to pay, so much people had to pay. It's all it is them who are supposed to be paying you. Them owing, right? Is Britain owing? Is America owing? Look at how MK Ultra experiment was conducted upon me, right? And others, for that matter, I don't know if others do that happen to others as well. But America owing people, England owing people, Europe owing people. Them thing can't be going on so. Them thing can't be studied going on in cycles like that. Right? So that's just that. I know that exoticism thing is like it evolved to be a part of the Caribbean culture as not something that people would have wanted to do, but is a pain response. Is a response to pain is something that I did too. Remember a lot of my life, I was involved in heightened sexual activity for with several partners and so on. So it's part of a pain response, right? So it's similar to just my one. I wasn't out there, like I didn't put myself on camera and stuff, right? But I understand what it means like to have a pain response, right? Something happened in your past, generations or personal, right? Collective or personal, and you have a pain response, right? You have a pain response. So that activity, that sort of activity now, what is a pain response. It's not something that is, let's say, is something that people use you for them. Your energy. Right? It's sexual energy. And Caribbean people have a lot of sexual energy. Right? And people use you for your sexual energy like they used you in the past for your sweat, blood, tears. Right? So again, it's like you're being used and being used over and over and over and over, right? So your ancestors was used in a particular way, blood, sweat, tears, right? Now they come back and using you, right? Sweat again, sweat again, sweat again. Perform first, perform first, perform first, right? Perform first, right? And this is what I'm trying to make people in my generation whites to understand, right? Because their parents would understand, right? But the parents wouldn't tell that to them, right? Because you want your child to be royal and away from not even hearing about them things, right? You want your child grow up in a bubble, right? A royal bubble, and not having to even think or know about these things, right? But it's in your bloodline though. It's in your blood, right? It's in your genetics. So I no hiding that information. I no hiding that information, right? The information you will become aware of it, right? Once you're in those families, right, royal white families, so on, you will become aware, right, of situations where your ancestors did, right, what went on with other people's. You can't be immune from that kind of information. So colored people are not to be used for their sexual energy only. colored people are not to be used to be work, or slaving, right? At this point in history. At this point in history, colored people are supposed to be resting and eased and resting, right? And free. Ease, resting, and free. Right? So that's just our conversation because I don't like this thing about exoticizing people, right? Using people for their bodies to just watch and be say, oh, well, watch this colored person, right? And you're watching the body, the sexy, the hot, right? And that's all you know a Caribbean person for, right? That is all because you carnal, you're animalistic, right? And that is all in a Caribbean person for. Meanwhile, that person might have like a lot of talents, right? A lot of different things, a lot of things that they even exploit, right? Or you don't know about, right? But you just watching this person, watch this person, right? This Caribbean person, an animalistic, carnal person, only for your eyes to devour, right? And I personally don't like that, right? So anyhow, that's just our conversation there. So we'll talk.